Good morning, traders. Gates W. Adams here. I am your host, and welcome back to another episode of the Trader Bacon Show. As we start closing out the year and getting ready for 2024, I know a lot of people have a lot of big goals that they're trying to set and figure out and for sure reach. So, as we start getting close to those final days of the year, it's going to be really, really important to get clear on what it is that you want for 2024. And today I bring to you yet another successful trader. Joe is going to be with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what has been working for him. Take what you can, implement this in preparation for the new year, and let's bring on another episode of the Trader Bacon Show.
Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Are you ready? Because the Trader Bacon Show starts right now.
Joe.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are we doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I see we have the bull smashing the bear back there.
Yeah. One of my good friends from the trading group, Robbie, made this picture. He sent it to me, and I know it's always just made me crack up. So I just stuck with it.
I love it, man. That's fantastic. So welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing some of your wisdom and some of the stuff that's been working for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's great to be here. So I guess I should probably kick this off with just like a quick little intro about me and how I ended up in trading, right? So
where did it all start for you?
How it all started for me with trading is actually my brother. He was on Reddit and things like that, and he started talking to me about AMC. I think maybe BlackBerry was another one, but he started talking to me about all these other ones, and he was talking about AMC just like going crazy. So I was like, okay. And I had never dabbled in the stock market at all. Like, I made a Webull account, I started buying AMC, and I just like kept buying a little bit more, and I ended up with an average under 9, and I held that all the way up through 50. So I turned a decent sized chunk of change into a lot. And I thought, wow, this trading thing is easy. And then, of course, quickly realized it was not easy at all, and proceeded to lose a lot of that through just different, I guess, I don't want to say like paper cuts, because they were like good sized losses because I would oversize. I just didn't know what I was doing. And now all of a sudden I had a whole lot more money than what I started with. So I was just like, I lost $1,000 on that one. It's okay. And, it's like still house money. And then until suddenly it wasn't house money anymore. And then one of my friends got me interested in options, and he used to play options and just show me these crazy returns. And I was like, okay, like, how do you do that? So I started like getting on Discord, getting online. And then I just happened to stumble upon this trader named Maple Stacks. And he had posted a chart. And I was like, well, hey, what does this mean on your chart? And he replied to the message, and then I just started following him on Twitter. Then I found out he streamed his trading live on Twitch. I was like, I don't even have a Twitch. So I go create a Twitch account. I start watching him trade live, and I'm like, all right, this guy's pretty cool. He's got his own Discord room. So I pay the fee, I joined the room, and that was March of 2022. And from there, I just, was like a sponge, just trying to soak it all up and just try to get better at trading options, as the room was primarily focused on trading options. So did that for a while, and Maple runs a really great community of traders. I got to give a shout out to that group. It's a really, really supportive and engaging community. We all help each other out. And then over my time being there and getting better at options, I've been able to take a little bit more of a lead role in that group. I'll run the morning trade streams when Maple's like on vacation. And I'll also run, some nightly review sessions, 3, 4, even sometimes all 5 nights out of the week. And we all just get together and we'll study as a group. But it's not a call out service. Maple does a phenomenal job of teaching us how to fish for a lifetime. So I've learned a lot about trading there. And then enter Apex, right? So I heard about Apex around this time last year. I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a go. I'll sign up for an account. I sign up for an account and do nothing with it for like 4 weeks. And then I'm like, I just got rebuild. What did I just get rebuild for? And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I signed up for this. So I start, And then I start the eval process. I blow a bunch of evals, of course. I had no idea. They said I can trade 10 cons, right, on this 50K. It's not a good idea. But
Yeah,
then
leverage is good to a certain point.
yes. So, but I was intrigued with the leverage, and most of it was intriguing to me because I like trading options. I enjoy trading options. But sometimes the Greeks can just be a pain. So
Sure.
it was great that I didn't have to deal with the Greeks. So I felt like I was learning more about the futures market. It's very liquid. I quickly found out, hey, maybe trading overnight isn't the best thing for me. And I started working on like my system and really refining things that I had learned from Maple and other traders to be, more successful in the futures market. So it took me a little bit. I started passing some evals, obviously I had funded accounts, blew a couple funded accounts, of course, right? Trying to understand everything. The worst one was, of course, like for me personally, I had a 150K that I worked up to the payout threshold and then proceeded to trade it all the way down to blown because it went into the payout threshold. I accidentally took another trade and blew it. And then just went down below. And then I just proceeded to just like get in my head about it. And over time, I've been able to sort of master that psychology. Well, not master, but improve the psychology of it, which trading mostly is, right? So, but now, I mean, I'm doing great with trading Apex, from the evals to the funded accounts. Have a really refined system. I use the rhythmic system to implement max loss on a PA account per day. So there's no risk of blow up. I know I can't oversize. And I just make sure that like I have the system protect me from me, if you will. And that's really worked wonders for me to ensure that, hey, all right, well, I lost a trade. And then I think about it. Okay, I lost a trade. I can take one more trade. Should I take one more trade? Because if I lose that one too, I'm going to get locked out. And that's having that thought process and having a system of asking myself questions. What should I do? Should I take this trade? Has really helped out a lot. But my trading experience continues to improve. And I was a young dad at 18 years old, and I had a little kid, and I was struggling to make ends meet. So I really understand the value of a dollar long term, from having gone through such trials and tribulations at a young age, being a young parent. But it's really been a phenomenal experience with Apex because come the 15th, which is Friday, I'm going to have my biggest payout ever from Apex. So I'm super pumped.
Congratulations on that. That's obviously a big win. And I think it's one of those things when you start to see the fruit, it starts to roll. So you no longer have to pass the eval. You no longer have to get that payment threshold. Now you're just working in the money. So as long as you keep it there, it goes much faster once you hit that point.
Exactly.
So it gets pretty exciting once you get to that point. Now, I'm going to ask you a question I've asked a lot of people in kind of different ways, because I see a lot of traders go from, it doesn't always start in options, but they move from options into futures. And of course, the appeal with options is the leverage, is the ability to take, quote unquote, a lower risk for that higher reward. And of course, there's always factors that come into play with all of that. But for you, what did you find to be the most challenging aspect of switching from options into futures?
I guess I would. That's a tough one, right? Because I guess mentioned the lack of the Greeks is an advantage.
Sure.
I think one of the tough aspects for me was acknowledging the fact that just because the futures market is open 23 hours doesn't mean I should be looking at the charts that long, and staying away from the market in the after hour session. Now, I know we're going to get to a point where I'll show some charts, and I do find some value in marking levels that occur in those sessions, but by and large, I like to just trade the New York session. I like to know when I'm going to start and when I'm going to stop. And that was an adjustment period for me because I definitely blew some evals overnight, just not aware of those moves.
Right. Well, why don't we take a look at it since you're bringing it up? Let's have a look and see what it is that you're actually looking for and what makes for a good opportunity for you.
For sure. So I have found that like studying my journal, I do like to get into a lot of reversal trades. I like to have, key levels marked and where, okay, like I see us turning here and I'll take it short, for example. I typically have a vertical monitor that's to my left here, where I watch the futures. I watch obviously ES, YMNQ, and then I'm also watching like the dollar, VIX, RTY bonds, and then a ticker called it's called ADQDC. So it's the advancers and decliners within NQ, because NQ is my favorite instrument to trade. But then specifically while I'm watching NQ, and I like to use Ripster's clouds. I actually have like just my personal preferences. I turn down I make them more transparent so they're not as obvious if they're not highlighted. Just so that I can really focus on the price action. Maple really teaches price action trading. And to me, that's kind of resonated well and stuck with me very well. I'll start out my day by, obviously I have an automatic indicator that marks the London orb or the opening range. So that's the 3 a.m. to 3:30 low to high. And I'll look for how we're trading within that. And so then today, I will look for like what's the setup and what are we looking at going into the open from the prior day. Now, this is a little bit wacky because we have the contracts adjustment, but a lot of the times I'm looking for, are we gapping up or are we gapping down, and what are our relative levels from there? So, this obviously would be a long trade that I would look for. I didn't grab it this morning. I was a bit busy running the stream and didn't catch it. I did comment that we were struggling here in pre-market high, and once we flew through it, that was it. However, and this was another trader who kind of called out the way this looked. I did take a long trade in here from 58 for a total of 25 points between the two contracts. And really what I was looking for there is just a pullback, right? And taking this long within the EMAs, but also just marking pivots. One thing that I've been finding really helpful lately in doing nightly reviews is I'll actually pull up the line chart and I'll look for on the line chart where are pivot levels of interest for us to pull back to. So then when we go back to see, if you look, like this pullback is basically right to that line chart pivot. So, because the line chart only shows you the bodies of the candles, it doesn't show you the wicks. So that's been extremely helpful, looking for those and kind of knowing where, okay, we got this pullback, we came down, we touched it, and we started getting buying off of it. And that's why I took it from right about here. And I was out, obviously, it broke this, I moved my stop up, and then, I got taken out, and I should have retaken it, to be honest, but I was getting ready to get on this with you. So, but another big trade setup for a lot of us in the community is this opening range break, right? Where if we get a breakout and we get a retest with the EMA confluence here, we'll take that as well. I believe we did have bond news, or the 3-year bond auction or something is right now. So I'm not surprised we're having a pullback. But other than that, me personally, I just recently started like posting trade reviews on my YouTube channel. If you go to my Twitter, which should be on there, you'll be able to find the link to it. But a lot of the trades, some of my best trades are where I catch the reversal, right? So if we actually just like want to go back, I'll just like walk through one of them. Sorry, I want to be on the 5-minute chart. I typically I watch multiple time frames. I do a lot of the, probably typical, I would say typical retail trader stuff, watching multiple time frames, the 5, the 10. I try to stay off the 1. I feel like, especially with futures, the 1 is a lot of noise. And with NQ, you can get some massive 1-minute candles. But this was a trade I took. This was a trade that I happened to take on last Monday, and at the same exact time, I took NQ, ES, and Tesla all long from right here. And this was, an absolutely massive trade, right? I think I stopped out on this one for something like 90 points, which wow. I will tell everybody in the group, like, this is not what I strive for. We're really big on talking about striving for base hits and consistency. And, I believe I had 3 contracts, if I'm trying to remember this correctly. And the majority of it, I was out here. So I just had that one that, well, it just keeps running and I don't have a reason to stop. So I'm going to let that sucker run. Same thing with ES. Actually, this was when we had our first conversation, this was one of the trades that I was in, and I had a trail stop in.
Oh, right.
So,
So that brings up a really good question here. So obviously, you have an opportunity to let things run based on the way that you trade. But when you enter a trade, what does that risk reward setup look like for you?
Oh, great question. I get this question a lot. I get asked a lot about how I'm able to keep this risk so tight. But I typically will enter with a 6-point maximum risk per contract. Okay. So actually, like I'll just throw this on the sim here. So this is what my Ninja Trader looks like. Big things on Ninja Trader is I have some automatic levels that get plotted for me every day. This is the first 30-second orb range, which I'm doing some back testing to study. This is your first 30 minutes, right? High to low. And then this is your first hour, which is the initial balance, right? And then I only have VWAP on here. I use the other charts to reference EMAs or other drawn levels. But like if I'm on the sim, I literally have a bracket and it literally is a 6-point stop. So I typically keep my stops very tight. I like to keep them, as close to where I'm going to be wrong as possible. And so for that, in order for me to get those entries, a lot of times what I'll do is I will right click on the chart. If I want it to be long, I will drop a buy order here. And then I will literally just hover it to, okay, where do I really want to get in, right? And I'm constantly monitoring that. I'm looking at the numbers on the right. And I'm saying, okay, if I get in at 50, my stop would then be 44. So, okay, my stop is down here below this low. So then I know, kind of where I can take it and where I'm not. And like, look there, obviously there it's going. So now, and one of the things with being patient is I've learned that, okay, hey, if it's going to go, it's going to go, right? There's going to be so many other trading opportunities. And for most people to make a good living, you don't have to catch a massive move. Like you don't need to catch a 90-point runner, right?
Right.
If you take 2 cons for 10 points each on NQ, that's $400. Like to make $400 in a day is pretty good living.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, that's, well, I don't know, roughly about $100,000 a year. If you average it out, obviously there's going to be up days, down days, highs, lows, all that kind of great stuff. But I think that that's a great point, is that you don't have to hit it out of the park every time. And I know that a lot of traders, they'll take a bunch of little beat ups along the way until they can get one big one to run. And they'll take 5, 6, 7 losses just to get one good win versus just taking them small and, slow and steady.
Exactly. And so like I'm seeing this price action as it is right here. I'm concerned that the bears have control of the current price action, but that same pivot that I went long off of here was obviously in play again for at least for a bounce. So I will watch, like, again, I literally, we'll take this candle by candle in watching the price action and thinking who's in control and where are we likely to go from here. And try to gauge, for that. But I've posted tons of trades on my Twitter. I think my best RR reward trade was somewhere in the 12-to-1 range, but which is pretty good. But the trade that I took, from 58, I risked 12 points, right? Because I had 2 cons for 6-point stop. I risked 12. But I took 10. I took 1 off for profit in 10, and I stopped out on the runner con at 15. So I got more than 2-to-1 there.
Sure.
So your win rate, if you think about that and you start logging in your trades, and I do a pretty good job of reviewing every trade that I take, winners and losers, and you start to really hone in on the after hours work, you can start to realize like, hey, this is not like I realize like from here, right here, I don't have an edge here. I don't want to take this right here. I don't feel confident that we're going to go either way. I'm concerned we're not pushing down. If I had to pick one way, I would go long, but I don't have to pick one way because there's going to be an opportunity later.
It's a great lesson. And again, I think that we all have that fear of missing out. And it's just too easy to say, I think this is good, not this is a really solid entry.
Exactly. I think this is good, or I think we can go here. Right. And especially too, I know that, there's a lot of times where whether, you're in a Discord group or you're looking at Twitter or whatever, you have to understand what triggers you. If you just saw that Joe rode 5 contracts short from the high and he just like, yeah, I'm going to target this pivot and get out. And he took all 5 contracts, over 60 points, and he made this crazy trade. You're gonna be like, oh man, Joe just made a few $1,000s. Like, I haven't made anything today. I got to get in something. I got to get in short too. And it's like, well, I mean, you should have taken a stop if you got short near the low, And exactly. It's that's one of those psychological barriers that a lot of people, I think, struggle to overcome. But I've spent a lot of time in my personal life in the gym. I enjoy the gym. I enjoy competitive, being a competitive bodybuilder and just overall just working on my health and fitness, right? But there's a lot of things that from the gym correlate extremely well to trading, right? When I started working out, I weighed 135 pounds at 6'2". Now I'm over 250. It took a lot of time and patience and consistency day in and day out. Some days where you don't see results to keep moving forward, knowing that it's the compounding power of time and energy,
Sure.
right? And that translates very well over to trading, because there's times where I'll sit and look at the screen for an hour and I don't see a trade to take, but I'm going to come back later and study for an hour,
Right. Well, and one of my coaches in my world has made the statement that has just always resonated with me, and I'm sure he's not the originator, but the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Correct.
When you start to show discipline and the ability to be patient in one area of your life, it will start to stem to other areas of your life. And go figure, you almost double your weight through, not the way most people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
say,
right.
And that doesn't happen overnight. And, a lot of times this means, either getting up early or staying up late or sacrificing time somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can that not translate? It's in my humble opinion, all definitely interconnected. So, well, what has so let's talk a little bit about what your world looks like, as you've kind of developed as a trader and moving forward. What has changed in your world as you've pretty much built more and more of this consistency and development and growth here in trading?
Well, oddly enough, I would say I have a good appreciation for my job, right? Because my job affords me a lot of flexibility. So even though I'm, I have a professional job, career, salary, I typically work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, like full shifts, like 13-hour shifts. And then I'll have a staff meeting sometime later in the week, other conference calls, but that leaves me the majority of my week open to trade. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking like, why don't you just ditch the job? Well, because when I ditch the job, I lose my health insurance, I lose 401k, which helps me come tax time because I can put more in there and defer, right? I lose access to an HSA account, and I also lose access to reliable income, right? My job, I've been doing it so long, I've been there 17 years. It's relatively easy at this point, and I make a pretty good living, right? So it's like I have that money guaranteed. So now I'm able to like kind of roll this trading thing into start opening an LLC recently, and trying to do different things. And it exposes me to a different environment, but also I have no psychological stress of coming to the desk and having to perform. Right.
Right.
I mean, I'll get there at some point, but there's really no rush. Right. Plus, like, there's, some financial compensation that occurs at different points of the year. And I'm not going to leave without being strategic about that too.
That's a good point.
Like not to get into too many details, but like if you got a bonus coming in the spring, you're not quitting in the winter, right?
Right.
And then I think what's changed for me too is I tell less and less people in my personal life that I trade. I feel like it's a combination of jinx and also a combination of, people are starting asking me if I can flip their money for them, or if I can make them money and do this and that. And I'm like, no, like we didn't play like that. It's not like that.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. And I talked a little bit about New Year's resolutions and goals as we're approaching the end of the year and kind of getting into that mindset and into that mode. And I'll share something from my personal experience, particularly when it comes to trading. In our normal world, if you want to call it that, the outside of the trading world, especially for like a business owner or commission guy or something along those lines, we set goals of I want to make this amount of money. I'm going to do it this way, that way, and the other way. And for me in particular, every time I set a goal to say, pass X number of evaluations, or, I was always kind of after that profit target. That was when my mindset started to shift and I started to have some struggle, right? Whereas then I started deciding, well, I'm going to make my goals more geared towards my performance. So I know what constitutes a good trade, and I always go do my review after the fact. And I know that I'm going to make some mistakes. So if I focus on, instead of making 10 grand this month, I focus on making sure that 90% of my entries fit every qualification. There's less mistakes. There's less issues. I know what will ultimately result, but I don't mess with my head as much. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great way of looking at it. Honestly, I think that having goals that are not financially based is the way to go. I think a lot of people really struggle with, my goal is to make $300 a day or $500 a day, etc. But then that can quickly become, well, I'm minus 200. Now I'm minus 400. Well, now I just want to get back to zero. Now I'm minus 600. And it's like, well, like at what point do you walk away? Which again, I cannot recommend enough if you're trading through Rhythmic. I don't know about the trade evade aspect of it, but you can lock yourself out. Like lock yourself out, right? Prevent for blow up, especially on a PA, right? Because you spend 7 trading days to get the PA, and then who knows how many other days you already have invested in it. And you're working towards hitting that payout threshold, which is, X number of days away, at least 10, right? You have to trade for at least 10 days, but depending on where you're on the calendar, it could be more. Lock yourself out, right? Like protect yourself from yourself. If you, things like using hard stops are great. That's why like I use a bracket order. I don't have to think about it. And I don't have to worry about, oh shoot, I should get out. And now I'm minus 30 points on this, it's going to take me out, and that's fine. What else, I guess, but I think that having the goal be based off of discipline and rules will yield you a better result in the long term.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of different ways to basically work that mindset angle. We all know it's a factor in trading. So I guess it's going to be different for all of us. And I know that that's what works better for me. I think that that's probably going to be the case for a lot of traders, especially newer, greener traders, which I will claim myself in that category at this point. But ultimately, we have to figure out what works for us. We have to figure out where that success is going to come from based on the way that we're looking at. One strategy may work for this guy. It may not work for this guy or this gal or whatever the case may be. And a lot of that is really just defining what your expectations are and how to best meet them. So,
yep, exactly.
Awesome.
I know that we're getting down to the end here. And if I could just make 2 quick things. The first and foremost, I just want to thank the House of Stacks. We did our 2nd annual virtual food drive. Last year, we only hit $1,100. This year, we broke over $5,400, which is over 10,000 meals provided to struggling people. It's really, really awesome that we were able to utilize the House Stacks community and Twitter and everybody to help come together and give back for a meaningful issue, right? These are people who do not know where their next meal is coming from. And that's real struggle. If you've never experienced that, it's a real struggle. I'm glad we're able to help them out. And then I would feel absolutely terrible if I didn't just take 30 seconds to thank my wife for her unwavering support. Like she's just been a rock and like a pillar for me of you can do it no matter what, no matter, when I was blowing evals and didn't think I could do it, or when I was sucking at options, she's always been there supporting me and believed in me. And I wouldn't be where I am without her for sure.
That's amazing. And thank you for bringing that up. I know that the people that we have in our lives are a huge, huge factor to our success. So fantastic. And congrats on that. Got to do a little business, guys. Make sure you get filled out the form for the free evaluations. We're giving away 3. So if you have not already done so, make sure you get that taken care of. Man, Joe, what an amazing time that we got a chance to spend a little bit here today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your guidance. Obviously, we know that we can find you at FlexingJoe. Is it FlexingJoe? G or no G?
Yeah, Flexing. Yep.
Flexing with a G. All right, cool. Yep. So at FlexingJoe on Twitter, make sure that you guys check him out. He does lead, obviously, at times that is it the Twitch?
No, it's right in the House of Stacks Discord. So if you find my Twitter, you'll find Maple Stacks on Twitter as well. Come join the room and you'll learn how to trade. It's not a call out service. You'll learn how to trade and be in a good community.
Awesome. Good community is absolutely critical in this world. Congratulations to Robbie, Maria, and Cody. You'll be getting an email by the end of the week with all of the information on what you need to do to get those set up. Congratulations. Enjoy those. Have some fun with them. Let those be a part of those New Year plans as we get rounded out. Come back. Check us out next week. We're going to have another fantastic show for you. Joe, awesome spending some time with you today. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy. See you later.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid,